And welcome back to Truth Quest. My name is Aaron Moriarity. I will be your host, and we're going to go on a quest for truth together. Yes, folks. And today we're going to talk about disclosure, and we're talking about full disclosure, not this partial, limited hangout disclosure that they're trying to perpetrate on us here. So we just are not going to
welcome
that
happen.
Back oh my goodness,
what's
my
name is Aaron Moriarity. I will be your host.
What's that?
I'm going to go on a
What's
quest.
that? There we go. I think we got it. All right, that little echo thing. That always happens sometimes. Well, folks, I hope you're having a great evening. I just decided to go live. I thought, what the heck? Let's go live. And I'm going to share. I'm going to share this out.
And it's beautiful.
Uh-oh. That's not good. That isn't good. Okay, we'll go back over here. And so, folks, if you want to call in, I'm going to put in the chat the Zoom link.
I just
Okay.
go live.
All right.
I thought, what the heck? Let's go live.
All right. Another echo. We got rid of that. Okay. So let's look at the chat here and see if we got anyone watching. And that's okay, even if nobody is, because we got one person watching it. That might be me. Okay. Hello, friends. Looks like we got some people here. Okay. Here's the, uh-oh, that's too many. Let me trim this down a little bit here. Okay, we'll get rid of that. And all that. And let's see if that works. Nope. Okay, get rid of that. And then there we go. There we go. It looks like Jacob Waters is there. Hello. Jerry, hello. How are you doing, Jerry? Thank you for coming. Please share this out. We got 6 people watching now. If we all share out to a couple people, and I'm going to do the same too. I'm going to share this out. So here we go. And I hope you're all having a fantastic evening. I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're enjoying the movie that's being played before our very eyes every day. It's quite something, really, when you think about it. I sent the Zoom link out to some people, so we'll see if some people will join us. We are live. How does that sound? And all my friends on Facebook will be able to come and check it out. All right. All right. And we're going to share that out to my page, Truth Quest with Aaron Moriarity on Facebook. And then we'll invite all those people. I hope you're all having a grand old time. And, you know, I'm just getting really tired of the mainstream media. You know, there's all this buzz because next month we got some UFO or alien disclosure happening. There's a report that's coming due next month. It was a result of something that Trump initiated. So we'll see what happens. We'll see, you know, but no matter what is revealed, okay, there's always more, okay? It's, you know, like, I suppose if you went to a remote island, And there's like a couple tribes of people on the island, but they've never seen anyone from any other place. And you're like a brand new thing to them. And you might show them a lighter. And they'll be amazed at the lighter. But there's so many things more you could show them, okay? But they're pacified with the lighter. That's what they're doing. They're just showing us the lighter. There's way more things that we need to know. You know, our taxpayer money paid for all this. And, you know, like Philip Corso said, Philip J. Corso, Colonel Philip J. Corso said that he was around when they decided to make this all hush hush. He said that they all agreed that one day soon they would tell the public the truth once they found out who they were, why they were here, and if they had a reasonable chance of, you know, remaining in power if they revealed it. So it looks like we have our first, our all-time friend here, Jacob Waters, and he calls in quite frequently, and he's a great guy. So give him a hello.
Hey, Aaron, how we doing?
Well, if I was doing any better, I'd be you, my friend.
Huh, that's great to hear.
Yeah. So what's new with you now? What do you think about this disclosure? Do you think that you're going to be satisfied, or do you think you're going to want more?
Well, I mean, I feel like we've always been doing this sort of a soft disclosure, and I don't know that they're ever going to actually give us, you know, the 50 years. Well, I mean, it was 50 years a long time ago. The 50 years ahead that our government and military is ahead of us. So I don't think that we're ever going to get the full disclosure that we're looking for. But I feel like anything would be a start to wake the public up a little bit more.
Yeah, I think you're right. So you think that maybe the secret aspects of our space program are maybe 50 years ahead of what we're at? Is that what you think?
I think they were 50 years ahead about 40 to 50 years ago. I really wonder what it is now with the rate that our technology grows and the way that just our computer technology grows. I can't imagine that we are only 50 years ahead by the military standards.
Yeah. I guess there's no way for us to really know.
Exactly.
But yeah. One thing that William Tompkins revealed in his testimony is, you know, he was witness to the Battle of LA, where, you know, he said many ships, maybe hundreds, maybe even more, came off the ocean over to over LA. And he said he didn't know if they were just kept coming or if they were looping around. So maybe there was only like a couple dozen of them, but they kept looping them. But he didn't know if they were all separate or new. But he did say that when he was in the programs later, he found out that they did recover a craft that had crashed into the ocean in 1942 because of the Battle of LA. I guess they hit this one and they got it, or something happened. Maybe a lot of people are saying that our radar systems messed up their something to do with the stabilization of their vehicles, and our intense radar would cause these craft to crash. But the one they recovered in 42 was just a drone. There was no beings in it. It wasn't operated. It was operated remotely. But so everyone thinks that, oh, the government's had, you know, alien craft since Roswell in 47. No, at least 42, and probably before that too. So we just don't know. We don't know how far ahead.
I wonder if you're putting that many bullets into the air into what happened over LA, like you have to have some idea that it's working in some way, because I couldn't imagine that they fired off that many rounds with no result. Like it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
They did it. I think they had like 6 deaths from falling shrapnel. So, but yeah, they were all paranoid because they thought it was, you know, they could be, you know, from Japan or something.
Oh yeah. I could see that being the main concern. They probably weren't thinking aliens as much as this is, war getting ready to take place.
Right. And what's interesting is they always show that one image or that one movie clip of that one that's got all the spotlights on it. But it wasn't just
It
one.
almost seems like a shadow in spotlights. It doesn't really even seem like a craft. It's a very interesting picture.
Yeah, I've taken that picture and I reversed it out so you can see the shape of the craft clearer. It's pretty cool. Yeah, you can manipulate it. Looks like Colleen says hi from AKA Q's Swamp Mafia. Mud Rabbit's here. Look at that. Kelly George, good evening. Hello, welcome. Welcome, y'all. Welcome, y'all. And thank you for coming and sharing out this fine broadcast.
Hey, Aaron, I wanted to say great handling last week on Andy's show with the trolls that decided to call in. I thought you did a great job. And I mean, you got to it as fast as you could. And I really appreciate that you edited it when you could and got it back up on the air for us to watch.
Well, yeah, boy, that was a shocker for me. I've never had that happen before. And there was one other person in the queue that I did not let in. And let me just say, without saying anything about the person, I read the name and I went, there's no possible way that could be a good person. So I didn't let him in. So now, I put a little note in the chat, in the Zoom chat. So if you come on and you want to come on, just leave a little note in the chat who you are, what you're going to say. And boy, I hope I don't have to eject anybody else because I have a hacker friend that gave me this eject button, and anyone that I want to eject, I can just push the button and their chair is going to like shoot them up. So they wouldn't want to do that.
I'm gonna say there has to be some kind of feature that we put into the Invisimask that will tighten up and cut off the oxygen if you're talking too much.
Oh man, no, I wouldn't want the Invisimask to be involved in any kind of, I don't think you could because it doesn't inhibit your breathing. So you'd have to, I guess you'd have to weave it with something.
So you also invented the only mask that doesn't inhibit your breathing.
Yeah,
That's
that's
another pitch. We gotta stick with that.
It works with your immune system. And when you're fighting something invisible, you need to use something invisible. Hey, it was my brainchild. I could have made $1 million, but I teleported one to everyone's face instead. My gift to humanity. So enjoy your Invisimask. You never need to take it off. It's self-cleaning. Made of nanoparticles. Let me tell you, the toughest part was getting that stretchy elastic to stay invisible. That was the toughest part. Also, they don't pull your ears. So I think this whole thing was partially a scam by ear surgeons because they needed more work. So
I like that.
So you're going to have people, the ears are going to look like, they're already starting to look like that, like Alfred E. Newman, right? So what was your first red pill? Did we talk about that?
My first red pill. I don't know. I guess I don't even know where that would start. I guess it would probably have to start back with like Bob Lazar. I think that would be one of my first like encounters with somebody that I really believed. Not personal encounters, but just stories that I actually believed. And then when you dove into it a little bit more, you didn't find any holes in the story.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be an amazing person to have sit down with. Andrew Basiago, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I think those two, gosh, I can't think of two more credible people to have talking about any kind of conspiracy.
Right.
It's strange.
Yeah. Andy met William Tompkins. And William Tompkins told Andy that he knew his father.
Oh, okay.
when he was in the programs. Hello, Tara. Tara. Oh, whoa. By the neck. Look that song up. It's a pretty cool song. Oh, Tara. Tara. However you pronounce that. Sounds cool either way, I think. It's a cool name, Tara. So now we have the drip disclosure going. We got, here's what I want to say. Thank you, everybody who's watching the show right now, because you are the truth questers, okay? You're the questers of truth. And we all are. So we've all got a different piece of the puzzle, and together we can figure it all out by putting our pieces together and figuring this massive, strange, kind of weird puzzle. It's very bizarre. And reality is twice as weird as any fiction you'll ever want to read or watch.
Aaron, do you have any thoughts on some of the stuff that's going on with YouTube and a lot of the conservative media getting censored for some of the things that they're saying?
Yeah.
Of disclosure, because not a lot of people are talking about this because it's kind of one of those tiptoe issues. You don't want to divulge into it too much. But I have a person I like to watch on when I consider conservative media, but I just like to label him as a comedian so that people will take his information correctly. Steven Crowder. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Steven Crowder. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, this is the second time he's been removed from YouTube in the last couple weeks, and he actually has a lawsuit going on with YouTube right now, and it should be an interesting outcome because they don't have a case against him at the moment, and it seems like he might come out of this one okay for just because he has a larger voice than some.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, I hope he can beat the rap. The rise of platforms like Rumble and BitChute and Twitch and DLive and Foxhole and all these and Gab TV and all these things popping up. I mean YouTube. It used to be a stranglehold, right? It used to be they had everybody, but when you ban people, you don't prevent them from broadcasting. You just change where they're broadcasting from.
True.
So, and I think with every switch, there's a more hardened platform that is, at least freedom of speech with very few agreed upon community standards that everyone can agree upon. I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, I know it's a private, organization, and they're allowed to set their own rules. But what most people are asking for is just a set standard of rules, because a lot of people aren't getting that. They're getting some videos are demonetized for some reasons, and some are not demonetized for others. Some are appropriate for kids when they probably shouldn't be, and it's just kind of a vast collection of information that doesn't seem to be put out in any kind of form. They don't have a set of guidelines that everybody should follow or that's enforced regularly.
It should be in black and white, and if it isn't, and they keep banning just one particular type of programming, then they should be made into a public utility, in my opinion. But I'm hoping something's going to turn around with it, and they will see the light and give all these people their shows back, because you work so hard to get your show up and all that stuff, and then just have it taken away. It's really quite sad, but there are still.
Sorry about that. Some of these people that are actually doing this, their viewership is insane. Like, they're actually making YouTube money. So not only is YouTube shutting down their own money, but they're shutting down their money, and then either one of their chances to make money on top of it. So it's like, what audience are you really catering to?
Well, I
strange.
think you got to go back to the origin of everything, and when you look at the origin of a lot of these things, they're either started by or quickly overtaken by a certain how can you say it, several letter agencies that kind of control all this stuff, and you know, money is really not, you know,
The ABC
probably
agent.
just a fringe benefit, you know, but I think they got a main goal that goes beyond it. Because I think the people, you know, pulling the strings, they really have all the money already. So that can't be the goal, especially when they're, you know, deplatforming all the people, like you said, making lots of money for them. Like, you know, Red Pill 78 had 270,000 subscribers. That's a lot of people. And he got, I think he said he got 70,000 in his last 2 weeks before he was banned.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, but even still, there's a lot of really good shows still on YouTube. So that gives me hope. It gives me hope that they're gonna, you know, see the light, give these people their shows back, make everything hunky-dory again, and have community standards that we all understand. You know, I've got several of my videos that, you know, are limited. They're limited or no ads, unsuitable for ads, but they won't tell me why. They said, oh, the algorithm spit it out. Well, what was the reason? We can't tell you. We don't know. You don't know. It's like, well, really? So it's convenient to just blame the robot, you know, the algorithm that someone there programmed, and they knew what they programmed it to do, but they just don't tell you what it is. And that's why, you know, people like Zach Voorhees, when he came out, you know, he made public 950 top secret Google documents of their inner workings and how they target certain types of programming and a lot of the things that they do, blacklisting and things like this. But for any YouTube people watching this and monitoring it, this is all just an opinion of a fairy in my dream that told me about it last night. This glowing little fairy that flew into my window and whispered it into my ear. So there you go. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it.
Aaron, I also want to thank you for getting me introduced to Red Pill. I actually was able to find some of his videos on YouTube, and he did one the other day. Very interesting. I had never heard of him prior to him being on your show, and you talking about him a little bit. It was definitely got some great stories when it comes to the news.
Well, I don't think any of the ones on YouTube are actually him. That is someone probably pirating his stuff. So
no, yeah, they're just reposting. It's not actually from him, because I think he was taken off the platform. But
right.
Trying to share the news.
But I would highly recommend you either watch him on both Twitch and Rumble. That's what I watch him on, and you can watch him on there for free. And also go to redpill78news.com, and you can watch it right from his website. And, you know, he's rather upset that people are doing that, because, you know, a platform that takes you off but allows other people to put your thing up there, it's kind of like a slap in the face, you know.
I mean, that just shows you that they're aiming for certain people, and then certain people fall under the radar that they don't notice. I mean, when it comes down to I don't really think those people had bad intentions that were sharing his video. If anything, at least the information is getting out there, and someone can find him and go to his site, which would be great. You know? And I hope that those people that are sharing his videos are pushing all of his other platforms so that they know where to find him as well.
Right. Yeah. So Rumble, He's on BitChute. He's on the Foxhole. I think he's on Cloud Hub too.
I think Brad in the chat just said he's going to be on Journey to Truth tomorrow night.
Oh, Zach Voorhees, yeah. Yeah, he's a great guy. Thanks for that, Brad. Really appreciate that. Hi, Mud Rabbit. Hi, Brad. How you doing? Danielle, and let's see. Jacob Waters. Why does that sound familiar? Oh, man. Uh-oh. Hold on a second. It might be something important. Well, I'll have to get that later. One other question I want to ask you. I don't know if anyone watches Quite Frankly either, but he's also got a great show. He does just a great job. So look up Quite Frankly. He's still on YouTube, but he's also on Twitch. And, they can usually go a little further on these other platforms. So check him out too. He's got a great show. There's so many great shows. There's no reason to ever turn the TV on. Yeah, find your favorite things.
Aaron, I had an interesting story to tell you that was kind of near your stomping grounds.
Okay.
I'm going to be going camping in about a week and a half to a place I don't get to go very much, Sylvania. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's the land of lakes. It's kind of northern area of Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah?
And basically, I'm thinking about taking my nephew. He's super into Sasquatch and stuff like that. And so he's going to bring binoculars, and we might go out there and do something like that where he can go squatching with me.
Wow.
Make a little camping trip out of it.
Bring your camera and make sure you got a lot of film.
Yeah. Seems to always run out at the wrong time.
Yeah, doesn't it? And from what I hear, you can smell them before you can see them.
Yeah, I've heard they were very stinky.
Yeah, the
skunk apes and whatnot.
Stink ape or skunk ape, yeah. My son, when he was little, when little kids are toddlers, they're just learning to talk, and they have different words for stuff, right? Well, that's when we first moved out here to Door County, and we had our dog was getting hit by sprayed by a skunk, and so my son called it a stunk. Dad, I smell a stunk. I thought that's a better name for it, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mean, I've called it Biscotti ever since my daughter told me it was called that. So.
Oh yeah, Biscotti.
I like kids' versions of words. I think they're a lot better.
Yeah. It's amazing how many different words they have for everything. I used to teach daycare, and it's just so funny what these kids say. It's just hilarious. Sounds
like the perfect person to be a children's book author and writer.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Children's books are fun. I like doing. I'm working on a couple of them right now. So, and if you go to my kids channel, which is 3 a.m. Studios on YouTube. And after I named it, I found there's another 3 a.m. Studios, but it's the one with kids crafts, and I read a couple of the books that I illustrated, and there's drawing things for kids for drawing, and tutorials for drawing and stuff, and craft.
Off the name, I wouldn't have guessed it was a kids channel. 3 a.m. Studios doesn't sound like always the
yeah.
most kids thing, but I assume it's got an old story to it.
It does have a story. In fact, years ago, when I was going through my divorce, I had my kids every other weekend, my son and my daughter, and I started a graphic arts company and I called it 3 a.m. design because I'm usually up to 3 a.m. working on stuff. And I wanted to include my kids in the name. So all of our initials are AM. So we were the 3 AMs. So that's where it kind of comes from. It comes from my kids. So yeah, that's why I named it that.
That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, maybe I'll put a link to that in the old chatteroonie here. If I can find it. So what else can we talk about here? Let's see. Oh, I want to say thank you. That's what I need to do. Thank you to our Cloaked Unseen World, Ryan, for his contribution on PayPal. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Studios. Okay. And we'll put this little link in there it is. And I'll just put the URL in the old chat. Here it is. And I should be doing another video on that soon. So look for something new on there soon, but check out what's there. If you have kids or, looking for fun stuff to do. I used to always do all my own crafts for the kids, because I didn't like the stuff in the books. We always did our own kind of stuff. Now, what have you read any books? What's your favorite disclosure book?
Well, actually, most of the ones I got introduced to were when I was younger, and they were kind of like, I don't even know how they were released because they didn't seem like, it was usually compilation books. It was like the world's unsolved mysteries. And it would touch on like the Loch Ness Monster for 2 paragraphs, and it would touch on some UFOs like Roswell, or they would just touch on some of the major things. It wasn't a lot of, I should dive in more to specific authors because I think that's actually what would lead me down a better path.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I've never been able to find much when it comes to stuff when I was younger. Most of it's just reading articles and stuff when I was older and finding more stuff on the internet, which is something you got to kind of sort through.
Yes. Yeah. One of the great ones to read, I think, is The Day After Roswell by Colonel Philip J. Corso. Great book. This is the new cover for it. I lent my other copy to my neighbor and I haven't gotten it back yet. So,
what is that? Just a story about what's it called? Hot air balloons?
No. So, if you don't know Philip J. Corso, he was the
man holding the paper inside that picture, right?
No.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
No, he was the head of the Foreign Technologies desk in the early 60s, having been in the armed services for quite a long time. And he was actually the guy that he was briefly the person in charge of Italy after the war. So he's a very well-respected man. And so in 61, he went to the Pentagon and he was at the Foreign Technologies desk. And his boss, what's his name? General Trudeau, gave him his duties. He was the Foreign Technologies desk. You keep abreast of what all the foreign countries are doing as far as armaments and what they're capable of doing, and their aircraft, their armaments, whatever. And he also got a 4-drawer file cabinet full of crash wreckage from the Roswell crash. And he said, Phil, I want you to go through this file cabinet. He goes, I don't know if they know we have this. I don't know how long we're going to have it, but we have it. So I want you to go through it, figure out what these things might be, then take them to companies or universities that might be able to do something with it, offer them, they can file for the patents themselves, but we want the military applications. So he did. He figured out all this stuff, what it was, and brought it to companies that were working on things close to those things. So night vision, fiber optics, Kevlar, and the transistor were all derived from crash wreckage from Roswell in the early 60s. So he brought this stuff, he put on civilian clothes, and he said, hey, we got this from a foreign fighter. He wouldn't even say where it came from. You can look at it for a while and we need it back. Well, they brought that, he brought the chip back. It was an oyster cracker shaped little chip. It was actually a whole panel full of them. Some of them were burned, but they were gray and they were oyster cracker shaped like an octagon. And he said, if you looked really close, you could see metal etching on it. So he brought that to ITT. It's the same thing that they saw in 47, which in 3 months later, they came up with the transistor, which is made of silicon and arsenic, two things never used in electronics before. So, and then they got to see it again. And from the early 60s, that's how they developed the computer chip. But yeah, it's a great book. He goes through the whole thing. And you know, why they didn't want to tell anybody. We're getting a weird feedback sound. I don't know where that's coming from. Let me see. I don't know. Oh my, Jacob Waters, our friend Jacob Waters. You might know this guy. Just donated. Oh my goodness.
A donation and something that last one.
Oh my goodness. Thank you very, very much. Oh my goodness. He says, let's donate and keep this going, guys. Show your support. Wow. Boy, I feel like I should donate too. Maybe I will.
I really appreciate you doing these shows and doing Andrew's show, and I really like what you guys are doing, and I just want to make sure it's always a thing. I like it.
Thanks. You know, I'm working on book covers for 3 of his books, so I'm anxious to see what he thinks of those. I'll be sending those off to him shortly.
I'm anxious to just get some of these books. They've been talking about for so long. I've just been like, Andrew, just take my money. I want a book.
Yeah. Well, you know, maybe there's a way to like get some kind of prepay thing, or you know, a GoFundMe account that, you know, what you would get like a delivery when it comes in or something like that. I need to talk to him about some of those options. So
I got a $150 donation ready on the next show.
Oh my goodness, really? Wow.
If it led to me getting a book, I would be happy to do it.
Wow.
I would do it without even thinking about it.
Well, maybe that's what needs to happen. I'll have to talk to him and clear that with Andy. You know, I don't want to start.
He doesn't want to. He never is one for rushing into things. He's very patient and takes his time with everything.
He really does. And boy, you know, some people, and I just want to say this, some people, and I get messages on the videos. Some people do not like when Andrew talks about politics, but here's a guy who's been told he's going to be president. He's experienced subjective moments in his own future where he was president. So he talks about that, and he's a Democrat. Okay. But he's not a crazy far left Democrat. He's more like a Tulsi Gabbard, you know, JFK type Democrat. And I think we need more moderate Democrats. So, you know, when we hear, you know, someone that we've been following and maybe something about something they're talking about doesn't line up with what we think, you know, you don't have to think exactly like everybody else. I mean, all your friends don't have to always think the exact same thing in the way you think. You know, it makes a much more interesting world to have different, you know, different people around you and different points of view. So he's got a different point of view.
Yeah, I've always thought Andy was more of a classic libertarian with it comes to some of his views, very much about personal right. I mean, this is my opinion. I mean, he might feel I'm speaking out of bounds, but I really do think he's more about personal rights and wanting the best for everybody, regardless of what you might think his political views are. And I think the most problems that people actually have with him is they want him to speculate on people or incidences that he doesn't really seem to know much about.
Right.
I don't understand why they want him to jump to conclusions about things that he doesn't know about. He just speaks on what he knows.
Yeah, right, exactly. And, you know, we all have opinions, but opinion is an opinion. So, yeah, I got to tell you, it's really fun to ask him about the technical aspects of some of the things that he was going through. I mean, for years, I wondered when they're in that tunnel, were they floating or were they standing on something? Or, you know, but he did reveal that they're actually floating when they're in a teleportation tunnel on the Tesla Vortal teleporter, the triangle shaped, you know, tunnel. So and then it lets you down like 15 feet and softly onto the ground at the end. So that's very interesting. And it's a straight line. So if someone overnight built a silo in front of where they're going to pass, I don't know what would have happened, you know. But I think that the military did have, what do you call that? GPS. They had GPS in the 70s. So they probably could see if they were building something in the way of it, right? But amazing.
I mean, you kind of wonder because, I mean, that was the same situation that happened when the people teleported. Well, I don't know if that's the same technology that I'm thinking about. I could be getting them mistaken. But when the child teleported into the fountain and his legs didn't come until afterwards, sometimes I feel like there's still a spectrum of not knowing 100% what's going to happen, but we have a general idea of what's going to happen. But there's still some variables in there that they might not take into account.
Right. He talks about the quantum plenum, that they're in this tunnel in time space. It's really like just like a little wormhole. It's like an electronically opened wormhole. And I really think it's kind of like blowing an electronic bubble, like an electromagnetic bubble. Someone mentioned, I think Tara mentioned, the global warming bit. Yeah, the global warming, you know, that there was a time when I believed.
And did he say it was like flowing?
I'm getting some feedback. I don't know if you have the stream going in the background or not. I don't know if you have the stream.
No, I just have ears up right now.
Oh, okay. We're getting some kind of feedback. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, the global warming. Now, I the way I rationalized it was if you're in a garage, you turn your car on, you're in there for any length of time, you're dead. And so, of course, it has some effect, but you know what actually has more effect than cars are like lawnmowers, because lawnmowers have no emissions on them whatsoever, nothing. So there's much more pollution coming from weed whippers and lawnmowers because there's no emission controls on those vehicles. And why isn't there? But yeah, I have come, now me personally, I have come to believe that in a large part, this whole, you know, save the planet movement has been kind of hijacked by, you know, other entities, like maybe another country, maybe the Chinese, that want to, disrupt our manufacturing so they could do the manufacturing and take us over. You've heard, they can't build a factory because of this little butterfly or a little frog or some kind of, some kind of albino cricket. And, so I think a lot of that has been co-opted, to move us away from industrialization so that China or other countries can fill that void and make all that money and decimate our economy, basically. So that's my view, that's just my opinion about it. And I could, I can't speak for Andy. Andy, he was an environmental lawyer, like one of the best. So, that's what he learned. So that's his perspective. And it's always good to hear other perspectives. For me, a lot of my perspectives are in flux a lot, I remember, when I first heard, the moon landings were faked, I thought, oh, wow. Oh yeah, look at the shadow here. These two shadows okay, wow, it was faked. And then like, wait a minute. And then you hear the backstory. No. They had Stanley Kubrick take these photographs and this footage because they were sending equipment up, movie cameras and picture cameras up onto the surface of the moon that have never been tested. So Nixon worried that if they went to the moon and landed successfully, and all of a sudden there was a malfunction in the camera, or it didn't work because they were never able to test it on the surface of the moon, that they would have backup pictures, and that's why they did the fake pictures. And they weren't going to use them. They were going to only use them if the cameras on the moon didn't work. But the cameras on the moon did work, but they were really crappy cameras, and they're not photographers. So when they did land on the moon, they had all these fake pictures and the real pictures from the moon. They went, let's use some of these because they just look better, And they did. They made a big impact. I mean, like, ooh, look at that. He's on the moon. But so, yeah. And I had to share with someone, and I was talking online with someone that they believe that the moon landing was faked. And you can go on the internet and you can look up, Apollo landing sites by telescope, and you can see there's pictures of them that people have taken with their telescopes. So, and the flag that they put on, I think they put a couple flags, they're now bleached white because the sunlight, there's no atmosphere to like diminish the power of that intense sunlight. So it's completely white. So now if you look at it, it looks like we surrendered, right? The surrender flag, the white flag.
So
Yeah.
Touching on some of the things you just said, I kind of want to unpack some of the things you just said. Just, of course, my opinion. When it comes to global warming, my biggest concern is honestly our manufactured livestock. I think that's one of our biggest things. Our cows, our pigs, our factory farming that has quite a large amount of methane release that people don't like to actually talk about because they're happy eating their meat, and they're happy eating their bacon, and they're happy eating any form of meat that they like. And besides the vegetarian speaking out, I personally I'm keto. I eat way too much meat, but at the same time, I'm okay with the process of how it's being created and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, there's bad versions of factory farming, and I would be happy to go to hunting if I didn't worry about the whole world going to that and then wiping out populations of animals. Mm-hmm. But I do really think the way we process our food and especially deliver it are some of the worst ways that we pollute. And then touching on the moon stuff, it makes me wonder why they would put the fake footage forward or well, staged footage, not fake footage, staged footage forward, because it makes you wonder what they actually saw, how bad their footage was. Because I mean, in the 60s, I don't know how high the expectations were. Of course, a studio shot footage would look better than whatever they shot in person, but it makes you wonder what they got on film. Because, and then I think we talked about this on another show. What happened to all the moon samples that came back? Why are they all gone now? Some of them are even considered petrified wood, and they weren't actually from the moon. Like, they've had several things come up from the moon that just did not add up totally. And I'm not saying that they didn't go to the moon. I'm saying I don't understand enough about it, and there's too many variables in it that it's hard for any person out of the loop to understand.
Yeah. You know what's tough is, in a world where people are waking up to the fact that they've been lied to about so many things, it's easy to then think that everything's fake, that the earth is flat, or, all these crazy things. But, it reminds me that, I made a meme. I think I showed it last time. It's two fleas in the back of a dog, and one flea is saying, I say the dog is flat. And the other flea is saying, I say the dog is dog shaped. So it's the flat dog theory. They're too small to actually figure out if they're on something flat or something more rounded or dog shaped. So I just think that's kind of funny. But yeah, it's easy to think that everything's fake, but you got to hang on to something, and we all go through different levels of it. But for me, I don't know. I'm comfortable with the fact that you can see these landing sites on the moon with a telescope. You can see the tracks that the moon rover made, and you look at the crop circles on this planet that the aliens, supposedly the aliens leave, very beautiful designs. Then you look at like the Mars rover tracks or the moon rover tracks. It's like they're just going here and there and not looking very good. Kind of like when you first get an Etch-a-Sketch, it's not very good. You can't really make anything. I love the Etch-a-Sketch. That was my first laptop.
I also wondered if we ever turned ourselves off of the timeline of global warming, or if we're relatively close to a worse one off of Andrew's story about when he traveled into the future and everything was flooded.
Yeah.
And I wondered if we altered off of that timeline, or if that's just a near timeline to ours, or what that was, because I was always curious, because I would assume that had a lot to do with global flooding, and had a lot to do with global warming in general, and maybe the ice caps melting.
Who knows? But I do remember him talking about that, and we'll have to ask him about that again, because that's an interesting story. But he said, when I asked him, I think when I first interviewed him, one of my first interviews, that they suited him up in scuba gear because they were saying there's a good chance you'll be underwater when you get there. So they were anticipating this. So, and now I've also heard that when you're going into a subjective moment in your own future or in the future, if you're thinking something, it affects the future you're going to. So obviously, if he's in a wetsuit, he's expecting to maybe be underwater, he's probably going to go to a dimension where it's going to be underwater, or another, what do you call it, other alternate version of reality, a different dimension, or whatever you call it. Anyway, let's check the chat here. All right, looks like people are having fun in the chat. Let's see here's, my PayPal and stuff like that. If anyone has urged, 17 watching now. Hey, that's a good number. I like that number. Okay, I'm getting some feedback somehow. I wonder where that's coming from. All right, let's see.
All right.
Etch-a-Sketch. Oh, looks like Kelly George. Yeah, Etch-a-Sketch. Ohio Art was the company that made Etch-a-Sketch. And all it was graphite, like graphite shavings. Turn it upside down, covers the screen with graphite. And then you turn it up and a metal stylus goes, just wipes it away. That's really what it is. Okay, I'm going to try muting you and see if that goes away. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to. Okay. Yeah, it went away when I did that. So you can unmute now. Okay.
There.
Yeah, it actually is coming from your thing. I'm not sure if in the chat, can you hear kind of like a kind of a shadowy echo sometimes?
No, I'm seeing your image skip a little bit though.
Oh, really?
But the audio is coming in clear.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sound like Wayne's World ordering food.
Yeah. You know what? I had the good fortune of being at the Radio Flyer plant where they make those Radio Flyer wagons. And when I went there, it was many years ago already, way back before the turn of the century. And so this thing is stamping these things out, and the whole like building is kind of like, it's like so like old fashioned, very, very cool. And it's stamping these things out. And then they had like robotic spraying things spraying them. And so it was like modern and ancient. It was very cool to see those things being made. Also, when I worked at Hasbro, I got to see the Snoopy snow cone being molded right there in Pawtucket, Rhode Island at one of their plants. So they make a lot of their stuff, or they used to make a lot of their stuff in America, which I think all, companies should do. All my products are made in America. And I don't know if you've ever seen my game, Tetragon 2. You seen this? It's a great little game, and made here in the United States.
Where can we find it, Aaron?
Well, actually, you have to like message me actually. So if you're interested, well, let me see. How can we do that? Yeah, leave your email address, or maybe I can put my email address into the chat. So why don't I do that? Okay. Let's see here. So anyway, yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing that report that comes out next month. But I'm also, ready to ask them more questions, because you can't just crack open the Pandora's box.
Well, what do you think of with all the things of them talking about the pill-shaped craft and the military officer that's been speaking on that recently? I think they call it the Tic Tac.
Oh yeah. Well, I heard that
disclosure, or do you think it's something more than that?
Some people are saying, no, I don't necessarily know for sure, but some people are saying that indeed is one of our drones. But I don't know. I don't have any sauce for that. That's just kind of the scuttlebutt that I heard. But I just don't know. I just don't know. Okay. Yeah. And by the way, I really don't care about that tic tac thing, because it's too little too late. We want disclosure, not this grainy footage that we talk about for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And there's nothing, I don't know. I get frustrated. I get frustrated when NASA announces we've made a discovery about Mars. Tune in tomorrow morning for our press conference. And everyone's like, oh my God, finally we're going to get some kind of disclosure. Finally, they're going to, this is our friend Skinny Bob from Zeta Reticuli. And no, it's them announcing, we've discovered that there might be water under the surface of Mars for the 99th time. They've made that same announcement, and they make a big deal about it. Oh, we found something. Oh, you found water again? I think we know that. Let's tell us something that we really need to know, because right now our tax money has spent trillions, and we're just not seeing very much of it. Okay, we need to see all of it. Rip the Band-Aid off. We're ready. If some people can't handle it, well, then they can't handle it. They'll have to, well, I think a lot of people can't handle a lot of things these days. But
with some of the soft disclosure coming from science and NASA, I was kind of wondering, what do you think of their theory about the Earth being seeded or populated from some kind of seeding from Mars or an asteroid effect of that nature?
Who knows, right? I mean, hey, we could use the chronovisor to figure out, definitively. We could answer any question with that. We could go back in time and, oh, look, there's the asteroid that hit the dinosaurs. Or, oh, no, it wasn't an asteroid. It was a nuclear war by, the Draco reptilians and the Pleiadians or whoever. We could figure all that out maybe with the chronovisor. I don't know. Otherwise, we're just speculating.
True.
I tell you, there's one story that I cannot get behind at all. And I just had this kind of visceral avoidance of it when I first heard about it. And I never, it just always seemed not credible to me. And that is this Zachariah Sitchin character. And inky and all this gold. And I just don't believe it. I just don't believe it. And some people say that the cabal told him what to say. And that was their new religion they were trying to foist upon us. And I just felt this kind of this visceral kind of, it just didn't seem legit to me. And because, they're infiltrating our movement here, and some of the people that people watch might not be real truthers. They might be, and if you watched, quite frankly, tonight, he talked about, there's an article in the news about how there's this secret army of 60,000 people, and a great number of these people, or maybe even more, are cyber warriors, online trying to, goat people into different kind of bad things. and trying to create things that will work with the narrative they're trying to push. So, but I say for every one of these secret digital warriors for the deep state, there's 10,000 Anons, much more adept, much more meme worthy, because memes are going to be the thing that it already has, converted so many people, because it's an image with a couple of words, boom, it's imprinted in the brain. And that's how we trick people into learning, by making really good memes, don't you think?
It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt, yes. And some of these memes are funny.
Well, honestly, unless it's Pepe, sometimes it does hurt people. Sometimes they take it a little personal, a little triggered.
Yeah, well, yeah, I
gotta have tough skin to get through this life. I feel like you can't put soft covers all over everything in the real world, especially on the internet. I don't think that's the government's job. I've never, as a libertarian, and a libertarian/conservative, I don't think it's the jobs of the governments to protect you from yourself or from others. I think you should, do the best to others and do the best for yourself. But I don't think it's the government's job to infringe on any of those.
No, everyone's entitled to their own opinion on everything. And, I kind of like some of the features on some of these social media sites where you can block certain people, because if they're belligerent, or maybe they're one of these paid trolls, you can just block them. And that's fine, because that's your own personal space. I miss MySpace. That was cool. I mean, I guess there is one now. It's called Space Hay, and it's like a copy of the old MySpace. So if you go on Space Hay, I have an account on there, but I hardly ever go on it. I love Peppy memes. Yes, I love Peppy memes too. I've made quite a few of them. I even did one, Peppy as Elvis. Have you ever seen that one?
I haven't seen that one.
Well, maybe I'll have to find it here and do the old.
I think we saw the army of Pepe last time.
Yes, it wasn't that good. I like the way that one turned out.
I was going to ask you, Aaron, with some of the disclosure information, what did you? I don't know how hard you followed the WikiLeaks releases when they came out. Was that something you were into, or no?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
So then you heard about the people working in the military that weren't exactly human, or working for the government that weren't exactly human. There was a list of people released.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, names. I don't know if I would consider them people, but just persons, I guess, that were listed that weren't able to be identified.
Now, are you talking about Gary McKinnon?
I'm talking about, there was a list of several people that was disclosed with some UFO information that were people working for the government that were considered non-human.
Oh, okay. I think you're talking about what Gary McKinnon, that guy from England, who kind of hacked into, didn't really hack in to the defense computers.
Yeah.
But he got in there, and he saw a list of non-terrestrial officers, captains of ships and whatnot, and the names of ships and people. He didn't get a screenshot of that, and he was downloading a high resolution picture of one of these highly technical crafts that they have. And then that's when they caught on to him, and they shut it down before he could do that. Okay, I found the meme. Okay. All right, can you see that?
Yeah.
The wonder of Q. Yeah, that's Peppy as Elvis. The Wonder of Q. Yeah. So yeah, Pepe is a pretty cool guy. And you know, I used to use, and I still sometimes use, Adobe Illustrator for artwork, but for this one I used something called Inkscape. Have you heard of that? It's a program called Inkscape. It's a free program. It's a vector art program, just like Adobe Illustrator, but you don't have to pay every month for it. It's free. And you
Okay.
can create vector art. And, you know, I just did this one really quick. It was a very quick one.
A person in my town was in charge of creating Color Workshop, which was eventually picked up by Microsoft, I believe, and it was released without the creator's permission, and he ended up winning a lawsuit with Microsoft.
Wow.
And yeah, he's got a decent sized house in my area.
Okay. Well, I I heard that was the reason why Melinda wanted to get a divorce.
I don't know if that was the reason. I heard there was a lot.
No, that's what she said. Microsoft.
Yeah, I feel like there's some other things that aren't so public that she talked about as well, including Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah. Well,
But we won't talk about that.
no. And what he didn't do.
Yeah.
I keep hoping that, you know, maybe this Durham thing has something to do with that whole thing too. Who knows, right?
Yeah, no, even with Pepe, I started to realize I feel like there was even a disinformation campaign released on Pepe with trying to make it like this I don't even know, like a sexist thing. They tried to add a gay flag to it, or a homosexual flag, and there was just all this drama put into it. And I know Jordan Peterson took a lot of flack for it because people put a Pepe flag behind him, and just all this drama that started over Pepe, and people tried to get mixed messages of it, trying to claim it was the alt-right and trying to claim it was 1,000 other different things. And you see this little disinformation kind of flourish over time. And now Pepe is almost no longer a thing. People don't really talk about it very much anymore because of how much heat it's gotten.
Yeah. Yeah, I have some more memes here. However, well, let's see. Let me see which ones these are. There's two memes to this one. And some of these memes I used in my puppet show. Quappy. All right, yeah, this is kind of good. We'll do that one. All right, let's do this one. I think it's, you know, Chelsea Clinton tweeted something out today, and about how, oh, we're learning more about JE and no, about Bill Gates, and we need to like get away from the windows. And so she's saying how she's appalled at, and look at her, I mean, you know, I don't know. So her father, yeah. So here's a couple Clinton related. I don't know if you can see that. You see that?
Yeah. I have a little trouble reading the one on the left with the bed. But,
okay. She's saying, I bet he's thinking of suiciding me to keep me quiet. And he's saying, I bet she's thinking about suiciding me to keep me quiet. So it's kind of like the nuclear arms race, right?
Yeah, no, when Andrew was talking on the last show, I've always been one, I don't want him to speculate on things that he doesn't know about. But
Right.
it was interesting that he touched on touched on a gentleman that supported the Nazi cause at the time. And I wonder about people like George Soros, who have come out publicly and said, you know, like I made do with what I had, and I also supported the Nazi cause at the time, and he admitted to it. And there's other people that have, and I wondered Andy's opinion on it. I just know last week's show was a really busy one. I didn't want to. I probably should have called in, probably to stop some of the other traffic, but
Yeah.
I didn't realize at the time that was going to happen.
No, and it was a complete surprise. And you know how when you're trying to do something quick, and that's usually when you can't do something quick, and it takes longer. Things always take longer than you think they're going to take.
Well, Aaron, you're a nice guy. You haven't had really anybody come in and try to do that kind of horrible thing to your show. So at the same time, I can see why you'd be a little more trustworthy to the people calling in. But that also shows that your show might be blowing up a little bit and drawing attention to even the trolls. So at least you're getting viewers, and as long as you keep up with the way you handled it last week, I think there'll never be a problem.
Right. I hope so. Yeah. What I did was I right away I made the video private, and I started editing it because I didn't want any kind of strikes from what these people did. So I took them out, and actually I edited it too quickly, and that made it take longer. So I was trying to do it as quick as I could, but usually when you're trying to do something quickly, it blows up in your face. So.
Oh, it definitely didn't. I think you correcting that right away, I think, was a good thing. I mean, I was having trouble going back and watching the playback, but at the same time, it was worth waiting and getting the right version of it. No one needed to see some of the things that came out.
Oh God, it was horrifying. Horrifying. I mean, if you're going to prank call, at least make it funny. I mean, those were not funny. I mean, the only reason you should do something like that is for humor. I mean, and I would like that, but
yeah, no, that was more on the childish end. It wasn't really much I don't know, contents there.
Right. Yes. Now, so The Day After Roswell is a good book. Get that. Now, when they developed fiber optics from the craft, he said that the fiber optics from the crashed craft, when you touched it, when you touched the clear wires, they would light up, and the light would go down through so your energy from your body would go through so yes, we developed fiber optics, but we didn't get what they had. I mean, a crude copy, but nothing great. And this is another one I always kind of recommend to people is Selective Extraterrestrials by William Mills Tompkins. He is an American hero. There he is. And he designed miles-long spacecraft for the Navy that were built and deployed in the 1980s. It's a great little book. Sadly, he passed away, but a lot of disclosure in this book. He was also the guy that got us to the moon.
I feel like NASA took a lot of credit for some of those inventions you were talking about that we got from Roswell. I remember them talking about getting most of those things from NASA technology, whether it was our sleep systems, whether it was our fiber optics. There was a lot of, besides Tang, I think we got a lot from Roswell and other alien technology.
Yeah, and we got a lot from the moon landing too, the whole moon mission, because I remember, because I lived through all that. And shortly after the moon hype, we got technology from that stuff. One of the things was handheld calculators, and also LED screens were developed for the moon mission. So a lot of this, and that, you know, we had Casio watches, you had all of the calculators, and of course the computers started too, very rudimentary computers. But he designed the computer checkout system. William Tompkins did. He designed the computer checkout system that all of the subcontractors who were building components for the Apollo mission, there were 35,000 of them. So each one of these 35,000 groups of people were making different components for this moon mission. And the computer checkout system made sure that they were all going to work together. And Williams said that, you know, they had crash wreckage to analyze and develop things from, and they developed this rudimentary computer system that worked. But it became obsolete shortly thereafter because the development keeps going. So when they say we lost the technology to get to the moon, they're kind of right, because, you know, William Tompkins and the top secret think tanks, they had access to all kinds of stuff that they utilized to make that mission happen. So, and it's all kind of obsolete now. So they really did lose it. I mean, you know, they just didn't keep all that stuff going. But yeah, look into the moon thing. Very, very cool, I think.
Aaron, I know you don't watch a lot of TV. Have you ever seen either one of the two series, is either Taken or the new Project Blue Book series?
No, I don't have television.
There were two Steven Spielberg features, and one of them touches on Project Blue Book. It's on Hulu now. It's very interesting. It basically talks about Heinrich and how he started out as a non-believer, and then as time kind of went by, he started to slowly believe that the military was telling him to discredit everything. Mm-hmm. And then also the Taken one touches on a lot of historical, we'll call them conspiracy, a lot of historical stories about UFOs and the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and stuff like that. I think you might find a lot of those interesting, and a lot of crash landings and reverse technology, and trying to come up with ways of operating crafts. They had a scene in Taken where they stumbled upon a UFO, and the military had it, and they kept trying to get these people that had psychic abilities to be able to drive them, and they kept dying because they couldn't operate the machinery. I don't know if it was too good for their brain or if they just weren't able to comprehend it, but there's a couple good series that came out that I would recommend if you ever get the chance.
Well, maybe I'll look them up. Let's see. Tara Devine says, I remember when calculators came out. Yeah. And, you know, the thing is, when you have a public science project like the Apollo program where you're going onto the moon, I mean, the public was engaged. It was exciting. I mean, people were, and we were getting technologies from it. So imagine the technologies that would come when some of this other stuff gets released. I mean, it's going to be nuts. I mean, because we really haven't had, you know, very much new stuff come out. I mean, phones. I mean, like, I don't know. I find myself unable to use the phone because I'm just not used to it. I mean, like, I got this iPhone, you know, my daughter gave it to me, and, you know, It's an iPhone. So, okay, now I've got an iPhone. And I thought, well, I don't know what these apps are. So I put this app on, this Google app that said it will make my phone into a Google iPhone. And so I put it on there, and I can't see anything on here that looks different that would make it a Google iPhone, you know. So I'm kind of wondering, you know, what that might be, a Google iPhone. So there it goes.
When you say NASA came up with the calculators, were you talking about like the room size ones that we learned about when we were young?
No. I'm not saying NASA came out with that. I'm not saying NASA.
No. From reverse technology, from crashed aircrafts.
Well,
because I remember them talking about the room size calculators that the person was sitting next to them could do the math faster, but we did have room size calculators that were oversized computers that eventually came up with the answer. I just didn't know if that was a more rudimentary version of what they eventually found, or if that was kind of a prelude to that.
Well, they had to make everything really lightweight, and they needed to create these technologies because no one had ever landed on another planet before. So one of the things they did was they had these, you know, these display panels that they made for, you know, their instrumentation. And the company that, like one of these 35,000 subcontractors that made parts for the, you know, the Apollo program, I would imagine it was either one of those companies or a company that noticed what they did, and maybe they licensed the patent to create these things. But the very, see, this is what happens when you have a public program. All this technology needs to be used to get there, and then all that technology ends up seeping into our daily life eventually. And at first it's like really expensive, and then as it goes on, it gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Like, you know, I remember the first digital watches, they had like red light up displays before LCDs came out. But LCD screens came from our space program. Now, whether those came from reverse engineered stuff, I don't know that, but I do know that by these companies making these things for Apollo, they said, okay, Apollo's done. Now, well, maybe we can market this. So what can we make out of this? You know, we have this cool stuff. Let's make something. And that's what happens. I mean, anytime you have a public program like that, but when you have top secret programs, you never get any benefit from it. Somebody's benefiting. What are they doing? You know, we don't know. So we need to find out.
Yeah, I always feel like they sold that technology to those private industries, whether it was Lockheed Skunk Works or whether it was one of the other big companies working with NASA. I wonder if they just sold that information. And that's why it got released to us so slowly, is because they were releasing it by sale rather than the government trying to give us that technology as, you know, a benefit to society. I feel like that would be more of, like, if you think about it, like out of all of the things that we remember coming from NASA, I wonder how much of it actually reached the public at the right rate. I can think of like the Tempur-Pedic mattresses, and I can think of Tang the drink. Those are the two things that I can remember that civilization got right away from our benefits of going to the moon and space travel in general. And I wonder if why everything else was slowly trickled to us, even fiber optics. Like fiber optics to this day are still slowly getting trickled into, you know, all the outskirts that aren't the major cities.
Right. One of the things that, going back to Colonel Corso, one of the things he did on one of his papers is he figured out, well, if we're going to send people into space, we're going to have to figure out how to preserve food. And he told this to his boss, General Trudeau, and he said, well, Phil, we already got that one covered. Meet me on the roof for the helicopter pad. They took the helicopter to this lab, and they went into this lab, and they had steaks sitting out like a buffet. And he said, pick one out. I'll take that one. Okay, it's been here for 3 weeks. Cooked it up. Perfect. They were irradiated, which is what they're doing to our food now. And that's why our food lasts longer. They irradiate it. Supposedly it doesn't have any harm, but blasting our food with radiation doesn't do any harm? I don't know. Not sure about that. But, and that's the one thing about meat too, because meat spoils very quickly and they have to irradiate it to make it last longer. And they don't have to say it. They don't have to say they're irradiating it. But I believe they do also do it to vegetables. That's why grow your own food, you know.
So what does that do? Like extend the half-life of the objects, or what exactly does it do? Do you know?
It stops it from decaying. So these steaks were sitting out. So in other words, he thought of his problem that needed to be solved if we're going to send people into space, but they'd already addressed that and they had already figured that whole thing out. So, you know, how to keep food from going stale or rotting. Of course, you've probably seen those pictures from McDonald's where they show the fries and the burger from 4 years, 5 years. They look totally just the same. They never go bad. Yeah.
Or the pink goo that is the chicken McNuggets.
Oh yeah, it's boy. You know, I stopped eating meat many years ago. Many years ago. I just, for me personally, you know, I loved eating meat my whole life. So when I tell people I don't eat meat, a lot of meat eaters get defensive because they think, oh, he's going to tell me not to eat meat. No, I'm not telling anybody not to do or to do anything. It's just, this is just what I decided for me. And, you know, I just felt like, I'll tell you what it was. The thing that really made me not want to eat meat anymore was, I was going through the grocery store. I don't know. I think I've been meat-free for over 15 years. So back then I was going through the grocery store and I turned the corner and this end cap, there was all this meat. And all the meat, it said, fresh meat. And I saw all these stickers and all these packages of meat. And I thought, I just had this kind of thing like, oh my God, these animals were walking around a couple days ago. And then I pictured myself in that package thinking, my God, if we weren't where we are, we'd be in that package. You know, if there was some other being on this planet that, you know, so I couldn't do it anymore. For a while I ate eggs and salmon were the two things that I, you know, kept for a while. And then I cut the salmon out because it was just this oily animal. I had this animal thing. So in other words, I didn't want some animal to have to die just because I was hungry. And so, you know, I've found lots of other kinds of foods that I actually like better. And so, yeah.
There's a big retired UFC fighter that I'm a big fan of. I won't say his name, but he eventually went to the Amazon after he retired and tried ayahuasca for the first time. And when he came back, he never ate meat again. He goes, basically, Mother Ayahuasca told him that, because you're basically eating rotten flesh.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're eating a dead creature. and it's decaying in front of you before you get to it. So I mean, I can understand any vegan or vegetarian's idea of why they wouldn't want to. It totally makes sense.
Yeah. I don't call myself a vegetarian. I call myself a vegisquarian. So I'm a vegisquarian. But it's kind of cool being square. But
well, yeah, I've heard so many horror stories about meat that I totally understand why people would be turned away from it.
mm-hmm.
I had a former boss who stopped eating meat because one day he cracked into an egg and it didn't come out the regular yolk and white that you would expect from an egg. He found a chicken in there, and he was like, this is just not something that I can deal with anymore. Most people, if they ever knew the process of how their food was brought to their table, I feel like most of them will be turned away. Yeah. Disconnection makes it safe, I feel like.
Yeah. I have conversations with, people who love meat, and I love the flavor of meat. I just have chosen not to eat it anymore. And, but, people will argue, well, we're meant to eat meat and all this stuff. They're like, well, look at our teeth. Our teeth, if you took a bite out of a cow, you'd break your teeth, right? We don't have teeth for ripping flesh. And have you ever been driving and you see like an animal on the side of the road that's been recently hit? I mean, so I always challenge my meat eating friends, like, whenever you see that, do you have an urge to pull over and start gnawing on it? I mean, do you have that urge? But because if you really were a true meat eater, carcass, it would be the thing to do. But yeah, it's amazing how dogs are carnivores, but I feel like a dog is kind of they're scavengers. They'll eat anything.
Mm-hmm.
We had a dog, Carmel, which is my daughter's dog, sadly passed away this year, but she was out in the backyard digging, and then she was chewing on it. Like, what is she eating? What, she found food out here in my backyard? So the next time I saw her digging like that and chewing, I went over there, it was a grub worm. She would smell the grub worm and she'd dig it up and she'd eat it. So kind of like Hakuna Matata, where they kind of taught the Lion King to, eat insects, which, pound for pound, insects have more protein than beef, right?
Way more protein.
Yeah. And the protein in beef comes from plants. So it's actually secondhand protein. If you look at, mud rabbit. Aaron, my brother saw a possum killed, took it home, skinned and brined it. Now, I don't know what brined means. Does that mean he ate it or just?
He prepared it and then ate it. Yeah. Wow.
Well, there's a lyric in an Elvis song. Let me see. Everybody come and taste the possum papa shot. Yeah, everybody come and taste the possum papa shot. Yeah, I can't remember the name of that song, but it's pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know, man. Possums, they're very strange looking. I don't know if I could eat something like that, even if I was eating meat.
I feel like that's our disconnection right there. Is we are used to things that are created just for us when it comes to meat. Most people that eat meat cannot handle anything gamey. They're not used to venison. They're not used to anything that actually comes from nature. And when it does, they're like, oh, this doesn't taste right. Well, that's actually how it's supposed to taste.
Yeah.
And most of the time they have that much of a disconnect.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, eat what you want to eat, and that's that. I mean, everyone can be the kind of person they want to be and eat the kind of food they want to eat. And I would never, you know, like I said, I still remember the flavor of meat. And I like turkey. I used to like turkey and ham and stuff like that, chicken. But then, I started thinking about, all the chemicals and the antibiotics they put in these animals.
Growth hormones and everything else.
Way back in the 70s, I had this idea because even back then, even when I was eating meat, I knew where meat came from, and it's kind of cruel to think that an animal has to die for you to eat that. So I envisioned a kind of a factory farm of the future where you grow individual steaks. Like in my mind, I'm picturing it, having like cow skin with fur on it, right, but in the shape of a steak, and having the all the fluids coming and going from it, and little electrodes to stimulate the muscle. Then you could grow the food without killing an animal. But that's really what Bill Gates is talking about with this. He's doing it a little bit differently, like microbiologically, one atom at a time or whatever. But
Yeah,
now
we have it now.
but now the idea
Growing meat, that's now a thing.
But yeah, the idea of it now just irks me. I can't even believe I thought of that back then. But I was trying to figure out a way how to, not hurt the animals, because anyone who reads the book, Charlotte's Web, that pig, his life was saved by the spider, and it was just such a heartwarming story. Don't you think?
Oh yeah. Aaron, what do you think of, or have you heard of the stoned ape theory?
Stoned ape?
Yeah, the stoned ape theory. It's
No.
basically it's a compilation of people trying to figure out what evolved humans' brains to the point that they are now. And there's a lot of different speculations, whether it was cooking meat or the fact that we got out of trees, that we had less danger in our life. And then when it comes to the stoned ape theory, they actually talk about when we moved out of trees and started following livestock around, and we found magic mushrooms growing in the livestock's feces. And off of that, they deciphered that basically, if that was the possible lineage that we went down, they were saying that, one, magic mushrooms promote a higher sensibility. Like you have higher senses, your heightened senses will help you with hunting and other things like that. And it also promotes reproduction as well, because it makes you horny. So a lot of the times the people that were eating the magic mushrooms were actually populating areas more and stuff like that. And I just didn't know if you had heard any of those different theories, whether it was cooking meat being the way that our brains expand, or whether it was, all the different things that made humans what they are today, besides just speculating on the aliens advanced us. I think that's kind of a cop-out. I feel like there's got to be a middle ground.
Yeah, there's probably a million different things that happened many, many different ways. I never heard that before. I never heard that, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I've seen videos of these elephants and this herd of elephants. Once a month, they go up on this hill and they eat apples off the ground. There's apples in the tree that are fresh, but they eat the rotten ones on the ground. They all get drunk. So I'm sure there's something to all that. And if there's a way, though, that people find some way, they're probably going to do that. I mean, what else are they going to do, right? They're cavemen. If there's a way, something to do to it, so they're going to do the cavemen. But yeah, I heard that pasta was the invention that enabled humans to travel great distances with transportable food that had nutritional value. So they could pack that stuff up on the mule and head on out.
They could pack that stuff up on the
I'm hearing that echo again. I don't know what that is. Let's see. Anyway, yeah. So pasta might have been, but you said which one, grew our brains. Yeah, I've heard when I was a kid. I heard the story I heard was, oh yeah, as soon as cavemen started domesticating animals and farming animals and eating meat, that gave them more, leisure time to invent things. But I don't know about that, because after you eat meat, you're like, oh man, you have to lay down and digest that thing. It takes a long time, a lot of energy to digest that stuff. So I don't know if that's what we've been told, And when I was a young kid, I sent away for those, free mussels they end up paying for, and building mussels. So it was kind of fun building mussels, but so I drink these malts in the morning with ice cream and milk and 3 raw eggs. And I slam that every morning. That was my insane breakfast. That's, but I don't do that anymore. I don't eat eggs anymore. Depends on your blood type. Yeah. After I stopped eating meat, a couple of years after I stopped eating meat, I started noticing people talking about diets according to your blood type. So when I found out for my blood type, if I eat meat, it needs to be very, very seldom, like not every day. And it has to be really lean, because for my blood type, I could get stomach cancer from eating meat if I eat too much meat. And I used to eat a lot of meat. So
for me, I totally had to switch up my diet just recently. For the last year, I've lost probably close to 40 pounds. I basically only eat meat now and greens. I only eat 2 greens, really, asparagus and Brussels sprouts, because they kind of have the lowest sugar.
wow.
I realized I had a gluten allergy, and I don't know if it's because of the way that we process wheat now or what it is, but for some reason my stomach does not want to process bread or flour or anything like that.
I stopped eating bread too. I can't eat bread anymore either. In fact, I can hardly go down the aisle because that yeast smell. It's like, whoa. There's something weird about bread. Something weird, yeah. But I've heard that it's the glyphosate that gives the gluten intolerance. It's the glyphosate. So,
well, and in the last 20 to 30 years, we sped up the process for how we get the wheat to dry out faster. So we're doing something to chemically induce it to give us 2 yields a year, because I'm from like the breadbasket part of the country, where that's all we do is grow corn and wheat. Mm-hmm. And when we were doing that, I watched them. They would get several crops out of the year rather than just one. And they were rushing the process more. And I wonder, what chemicals are going in to do that.
They use Roundup. They spray it over the crop after they've to dry it out. It dries it out. And they're supposed to leave it for, X amount of time, but they cut, like you said, they cut corners, but they're soaking it in poison.
Damn you, Monsanto.
Right? They've been trying to kill us. Thank God we're hard to kill. Thank God we're like real hardy animals, beings. It's really hard to kill us. Thank goodness, because they've been trying. I mean, if we were easy to kill, we'd be gone by now, right? Let's check this out. Oh, at Moriarity, can you eat rice? Kelly George asks. it's not something that I eat. I mean, if I'm out getting Chinese, I might eat some rice, but it's not something that I find myself making for myself. You know. Yeah,
I feel like
Roundup makes bugs' stomachs explode. Yes, that makes my stomach explode too. Yes. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I feel like sometimes people can do better with the whole grain type oats or rice, or whether it's darker rice or the long grain rice. I feel like the more processed it is, the harder people have to do it. I almost stopped eating anything that came from a cardboard box because
Right.
I've got to that point where factories have created so many things for us to eat. I don't know. My body just doesn't really want them anymore.
Yeah. You know, it's weird. I remember when navel oranges first came out, and everyone's like, wow, navel oranges, no more seeds. Yeah, like, yeah, that's kind of cool not to have seeds, but now you don't get seeds with your oranges. You can't grow an orange tree. So it's like, but it's a different. Back then, it was like, oh, look at this new innovation. Look what we did. Wow, it's a marvel. But now it's like, ooh, Frankenfood, right? So something has shifted in our consciousness where
We've even gotten lazier than that. Now we sell the already peeled oranges because people are too lazy to actually peel them themselves.
yeah, wow, right? Oh man. You know, I love pineapples. I think pineapples are really a cool fruit. There's a lot of vitamin C. They're like super sweet. But what I don't understand is when I get like trail mix or you know, fruit and nut mix, and one of the ingredients is pineapple, they always add sugar. Why would you add sugar to pineapple? It's already sweeter than anything you can imagine. Maybe it's to preserve it. I don't know.
I'm a big fan of the dried fruit. I actually love it when I'm out camping and stuff like that. The dried apricots, dried pineapple, all the dehydrated fruit is actually really good.
Yeah. Do you dehydrate yourself?
No, I wish I had that ability. I don't have a dehydrator.
Yeah. That's the thing. You know, I think we all need to like grow our own food. And I saw this picture. It was like maybe a little bit bigger than in width and depth than a fridge, but it had all these different like levels, and they were all these plants growing like in your kitchen, like in this thing, and you can take different things out as they grow. I think that's the way to do it. And, you know, I think all grocery stores should turn their roofs into a farm, you know, utilize that space to grow food or grow it right in the produce section. They got sprayers already. I mean, why can't they grow something, right?
Oh yeah, or just start out small. Have a little herb garden. Maybe you don't need to have, a full vegetable garden. Just start out with, all right, I'm just going to buy blend food and I'm going to season it myself. That is a step in the right direction.
At Moriarty, what makes you feel satiated? That's my problem. Popcorn? You know, I don't eat popcorn anymore. It's those uncooked kernels. I think I cracked a tooth, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. I don't eat popcorn anymore. I did like popcorn, but now I don't like popcorn, and I think I know why. Because Corn Pop was a bad dude. So I've heard. I wonder if Corn Pop is going to get some kind of sweet government deal now. You think?
I don't know. We have to ask Mama Harris.
Mamala Harris. Yeah. Oh boy. I it's it's, well, I guess anybody can be president. I mean, it opens it up for all of us right now, right? I mean, anybody, if those two can get in.
Well, I mean, I assume only one of them's going to be president towards the end of it.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's going to make it that long. I think that things are going to get turned around here. And that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. I'm just curious now. It's already been, what, 6 months, right? No? Yeah, 5 or 6 months, half a year. I mean, if, the Maricopa County audit and all these other audits that are happening, they're obviously going to show massive fraud, which we've already seen. There's enough to put anybody in prison for a long, long time. Lots of people. I'm just wondering when they finally do, they're going to either give it back to Trump because he was the true winner, or they're going to have another election, maybe run by the military, and figure it out. But if they just handed it back to him, they would have to give him an extra, X amount of months that he was, gypped out of. Wouldn't you think? I mean, would only be fair. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I can't see them actually following through with anything. I mean, look at the crisis that's going on at the border. I think you posted something about it this week. It's quite obvious what's going on at the border, but the media doesn't want to cover it. So the question is it ever going to actually reach the public even after an audit? I don't know that the findings will ever make it public. And I wonder if, when we're talking about disclosure, I don't think that's something we're going to find out about, is the actual happenings of the Biden administration.
Well, I think that I have this hope that there's this ever evolving plan and moves and counter moves, I just think that the way that they are kicking and screaming and trying to get this audit to be stopped, there's only one reason you would do that, is if you're guilty. There's no other reason. I mean, if it was a fair election, why would you interrupt a forensic audit that's completely transparent and is being live streamed daily from 9 different angles? I mean, you can't even ask, and it's being run by the Democrats and Republicans. They both called for this. I mean, yeah, I think there was a 91-mile loop of Trump supporters the day before the election in Maricopa County, and a big, massive rally. Of course, Sleepy Joe probably had, 12 people in circles, but and that's the first time that they've gone Democrat in 40 or 80 years or something, 85 years? I don't know. Some very large number of years. All of a sudden they went for Sleepy Joe because, calling a lid from the basement is a really good strategy because it really gets a lot of people out to vote for you. Right?
Well, and we saw what the media was doing. They were literally trying to throw Donald Trump under the bus for having a public venue, even if it was outdoors, because of the pandemic that was going on. And Joe was the safe candidate because he was hiding in his basement and not coming out.
Well, I love how the Trump campaign got around that. They said, "Oh, it's not a rally, it's a peaceful protest." Brilliant. He just turns everything right around on him, and I thought that was fabulous. This isn't a rally; it's a peaceful protest. But yeah, hairy legs and roaches. Yeah. Oh man, what a train wreck. I saw a clip of President Reagan giving a speech to the Coast Guard when he was president. And he said the same line that Joe Biden tried to say. But when the great communicator, Ronald Reagan, said it, he said it with some import. It sounded important, and he got a lot of claps. When Biden tried it, he goofed it up, and he's got poor delivery. He's got the personality of a doorknob. And when they didn't clap, he said, "Well, this is a really dull class. You guys are really dull," or something. He just insulted them. "I thought maybe you'd clap." And then all of a sudden they clapped, and he smiles like, "Oh, they like me now." I mean, the guy, I don't know, man. Yeah, and in 1988, I don't know if people realize this, but Joe Biden had 2 different brain surgeries in 1988 where they had to actually cut the top of his skull cap and took it off to get at his brain. And he told the doctor, when the doctor said what they're going to have to do, basically like a pumpkin, like the top of a pumpkin, you're going to take it off and do what we need to do and then put it back on. And he said to the surgeon, well, make sure you do it in a way where it's not going to be too noticeable and it looks okay, because I'm going to be president someday. So now the CIA always tells future presidents that they're going to be president someday. And like everyone else, they're not told when. Well, so he made it, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of big rallies for him. I just don't see it. I don't see any public support. I've got friends on social media who are liberals. I don't see them saying anything about the great job that Joe Biden's doing. Nothing, not a word, not a peep. Trump showed every politician how to be a good politician, and the smart ones will emulate what he did. Hey, Dark Brain, you're out there. Glad you could make it. And maybe you've been here. I'm sorry I didn't notice. Well, we got 20 people here so far, and I really appreciate everyone who's here. And we got 32 likes, so some people must have left. That's okay. If you want to share this out, please do, and get the word out, because we got to get disclosure happening. And this drip disclosure is not cutting it. We'll see what happens next month when this big report is supposed to come out. I would be surprised if it's has much substance. I hope it does have some substance. I mean, the public has had 2 or 3 decades now of Ancient Aliens, which has been like the #1 show I hear, and I have seen it back in the 90s. I used to watch that, and I think it's still on. So the public is very conditioned for this information. I mean, conditioned like no one's ever been conditioned before for anything. So, and look at what's happening. There's been some announcements and people don't even notice. People don't even care, because they need more than just, oh yeah, the Navy has seen these little fuzzy things going. We don't know what it is, but we're going to find out maybe if we study it. They know what it is. They know exactly what it is, right, folks? Yeah. Well, folks, maybe we should put a cap on this and say goodnight for the evening. I don't see anyone else calling in. And thank you, Jake, for showing up and having great conversation. as usual. Great talking to you.
Yeah,
Is there anything,
thanks for
is there
having everybody, Aaron.
is there anything you want to tell people?
Oh, I don't want to tell anybody anything. Just tune back in and tune in on Sundays to see Andrew's show as well.
Thank you. And thank you so much for your support, Jake. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone out there in TV land. Remember, peace in, keep looking up, peace